April 1944, the German submarine codename U-455 vanished without a trace. 50 men sealed behind steel hatches, their families left in agonizing silence. For more than 6 decades, no one knew if the ocean had swallowed them whole. Then, at a depth of 400 feet near Genoa, a diver discovers the wreck, its bow eerily upright, insignia scoured away, the crew still entombed inside. The lost World War II submarine, U-455, has finally been found, but the truth of how it disappeared remains locked beneath the sea. What happened to these men? And why did no one ever come home? On April 5, 1944, radio operators at the German Naval Command waited for a signal that never came. U-455, a type VIC submarine with 50 men aboard, had fallen silent somewhere in the Mediterranean. No distress call, no coordinates, just a sudden, unbroken quiet that stretched from hours into days. Families back in Germany clung to hope, searching official bulletins and telegrams for any word. The last message from U-455 had reported routine progress along the Italian coast. After that, nothing. The Navy issued a missing report but offered no explanation for parents, wives, and children. The silence became its own kind of torment. In the absence of answers, rumors took hold. Some believed the boat might have been captured. Others whispered about sabotage or betrayal. But as weeks passed, the reality settled in. 50 men had vanished behind steel hatches, leaving only questions and grief. The war moved on, but for those left behind, the waiting never ended. The sea had taken their voices, and for more than 60 years, not a single trace of U-455 would surface. At a depth of 400 feet, where sunlight fades and only the cold silence of the Mediterranean remains, divers stumbled upon a shape, half buried in the silt. The bow of a submarine, angled upward, pierced the darkness as if reaching for the surface one last time. The hull was twisted, battered by decades underwater, but unmistakably intact. Hatches remained sealed, their levers frozen in place since 1944. No markings or insignia could be found. Years of corrosion and marine growth had erased every number, every emblem. The only clues lay in the vessel's posture, the stern torn away, the conning tower still upright, the periscope extended as if searching for a horizon that would never come. Inside, the compartments remained closed, untouched since the day the sea claimed them. For those who first gazed upon the wreck, the realization was immediate and chilling. This was not just a relic. It was a tomb holding the remains of 50 men lost to history. The mystery that had haunted families and naval historians for generations now had a physical presence lying silent and undisturbed on the ocean floor. The discovery raised new questions, but also offered the first real proof that the story of U-455 had not ended in rumor and speculation. The steel grave had been found, and with it, the hope of finally understanding what happened to the vanished crew. During the Second World War, German submarines were known as the Gray Wolves. These submarines prowled the Atlantic and the Mediterranean, hunting Allied shipping and slipping away beneath the waves. Their crews operated in coordinated wolf packs, striking convoys at night, then vanishing before escorts could counterattack. The success of these tactics was celebrated in Nazi propaganda, which painted the U-boat men as the elite of the Navy, fearless, resourceful, and nearly untouchable beneath the sea. But behind the image of invincibility lay a harsh reality. By 1943, advances in Allied technology, radar, sonar, and new anti-submarine weapons turned the tide. The hunters became the hunted. Out of every 10 German submariners who went to sea, 7 would never return. The casualty rate reached nearly 70%, the highest of any branch in the German military. U-boats like U-455 sailed into a world where every patrol could be their last, and every mission meant risking not just defeat but disappearance. Against this backdrop, the fate of U-455 becomes more than a single tragedy. It stands as a stark reminder of the peril faced by all who went to war beneath the waves. The process of naming the wreck demanded more than a diver's intuition. Mark and Luke Breyer, historians known for their work on lost submarines, joined the investigation. They began with a simple question: which U-boat had vanished in these waters? Wartime records from the Freiburg archives listed 3 missing submarines in the Mediterranean, each lost without a trace. The team combed through technical drawings, patrol logs, and shipyard documents, searching for a detail that would separate one steel hull from another. The breakthrough arrived with a photograph from the Keel shipyards, where U-455 had been built in 1941. The image revealed a subtle but telling difference: a unique pattern in the conning tower's railing, a feature only found on boats from that yard. Comparing this archival photo to images captured by the dive team, the match was unmistakable. The curve of the rail, the spacing of the stanchions, even the mounting points for the machine gun platform all lined up. The evidence was conclusive. After decades of rumor and uncertainty, the unknown wreck had a name. The submarine resting 400 feet below the surface was U-455. The keel of U-455 was laid down at the Keel shipyards on September 3, 1940, a time when Germany's submarine program was expanding rapidly. Launched in June the following year and commissioned by August 21, 1941, the boat joined the growing fleet of Type Vic submarines. Command fell to Hans Heinrich Gissler, a disciplined officer whose leadership would shape the crew's fortunes at sea. Their first months were spent in the cold waters off Norway, searching for Allied ships, but finding only empty horizons and frustration. These early patrols tested both patience and resolve, as each mission ended without a single confirmed sinking. The tide turned when U-455 was redeployed to the Atlantic. Here, the crew finally tasted success, sinking 2 merchant vessels and earning their place among the hunter ranks. Each victory brought a surge of pride and a sense of belonging to something larger than themselves. But beneath the surface, danger was never far away. With every patrol, the risks grew. By 1943, Allied escorts and aircraft hunted the gray wolves with new technology, and the sea became less forgiving. For Gissler and his men, each departure from port felt heavier as the odds of returning home shrank with every passing month. In January 1944, U-455 faced its greatest trial. The order was clear: slip through the Strait of Gibraltar and reach the Mediterranean. For 40 hours, Hans Heinrich Gissler kept his crew submerged in the blackness, running silent beneath the most heavily guarded waters in the world. British patrol boats swept the surface while minefields waited just below. Every minute brought the threat of detection or disaster. The crew rationed air, listened for the hum of enemy engines, and watched pressure gauges inch higher. When U-455 finally emerged on the other side, battered but intact, relief swept through the men. They had survived the gauntlet, at least for now. Forensic teams studied the wreck, searching for answers in twisted steel and scattered debris. The periscope remained raised, hinting the crew was navigating near the surface at the moment disaster struck. The stern was gone, torn clean from the hull by a force so violent it left no chance for escape. 3 theories compete for truth. Some believe U-455 struck a German mine, its position unknown even to her own commander. Others point to Allied patrols suggesting an attack from above or below. A final possibility lingers: sudden mechanical failure, a fatal chain of events deep beneath the waves, yet no single clue resolves the mystery. The sea keeps its secrets, and the fate of those 50 men remains unanswered. 50 names once lined up on a crew manifest now linger in memory and archive. Machinists, cooks, radio operators, young men barely grown, veterans of earlier patrols, all left families who waited for news that never came. The list remains: Hans Heinrich Gies, captain; Otto Kruger, chief engineer; Wilhelm Ulrich, torpedo mechanic, and dozens more. Their stories sealed with the boat. No one returned from that last patrol. For families, the absence of graves meant the loss never ended. No headstone, no ceremony, just a name and a date that faded with time. Letters and old photographs offer glimpses of their lives. Some wrote home about the cold, the silence, the pride of serving on a U-boat. Others described the fear in the deep, the longing for sunlight, the hope that the next patrol would bring them home. Brotherhood ran deep, 50 men bound by duty and fate, trusting each other in the narrow steel corridors beneath the sea. Decades later, U-455's story drew those left behind. One name stands out: Guard Schwartz, reassigned before the final mission. In old age, he traveled to Genoa, standing on the shore above the wreck. With trembling hands, he scattered flowers into the surf, a silent tribute to friends who never returned. For Schwartz, the submarine was not just a wreck. It was a place where memories and sorrow were anchored. The discovery of U-455 finally gave families and comrades a place to mourn and a reason to remember the men whose voices the sea had kept for so long. On April 5, 1944, U-455 sent its final radio transmission before vanishing with all 50 crew members. For 66 years, families received no answers, and wartime records listed the submarine as missing. The 2010 discovery by Roberto Raldi, 400 FT below the Ligurian Sea, brought physical proof and finally identified U-455 through archival research and unique construction details from keel. The wreck's sealed hatches and upright bow confirmed it as a war grave, not simply lost equipment. Despite examining mine records, patrol logs, and the submarine's damaged stern, the exact cause of its sinking remains unresolved. Today, U-455 stands as evidence of the peril faced by the so-called gray wolves, who suffered a 70% loss rate by 1943. The submarine's rediscovery restores memory and dignity to its crew, reminding us that even the most feared hunters of the sea were not immune to war's uncertainty. The unanswered questions endure, but the silent wreck now marks the final chapter for those lost beneath the waves.